Hello and welcome to my nerdy petty rants. Okay, let me just get this out of the way. The only reason I'm making this is because of the announcements that Hasbro made last night during their Fan First Friday. And yes, this is a rant video about Transformers announcements. If you're not interested, I wouldn't be so surprised. But anyway, in their live stream, they revealed a bunch of new figures for Earthrise, on a Wave 3, 4, I'm not sure really, and a bunch of exclusives. There's a new Hubcap, a new Ironworks, and a new, I'm not sure about the third one, but there was a third one for Transformers Selects. But there were a bunch of announcements, and then they were good, all honesty. There were a bunch of new figures. However, there were a bunch of figures that were new, that were for characters that we already had, specifically from Siege, now with Earthrise. And I usually don't mind this, even though the first time they did this, late 2019, early 2020, was with the announcement of a new Earthrise Starscream, which I was excited for, but at the same time, I dreaded. You wanna know why? I bought this. This already good figure, and I really love this thing. This is great. It has so much good articulation. But the thing is, the thing that holds it back, it's its alt mode. The fact that it's just basically a cape over the figure's body, which is kind of cheating and kind of cheap. But I learned to love it over time as I got the figure, as I was playing with it over time, taking pictures and so forth. And when the Earthrise version came out, I'm like, wow, that's basically what I wanted to begin with. A G1 style Starscream with the jet mode from Earth, which really sucks when I saw that. But I was still excited because that's what I wanted. However, when reviews started coming out for that thing, I slowly started getting disappointed. It was the one review that I did watch. It had a transformation sequence in it. It showed you how, and I was fine with it, all honesty. And then they did the articulation segment, which is basically showing you all the joints and the movements and such. And when they started moving it, it made me not want to buy it for a couple of reasons. There's less articulation. That's my main point of contention. Because in the new figure, see this? This joint? Oops. That joint right there? That doesn't exist on new one. And this one. Up and down. Doesn't exist. Why? Because the transformation doesn't allow it. Which doesn't make sense. You did this to hide it in the transformation. Why not in the new one? What makes it even worse? I would have forgiven that. Until I saw this. The new figure didn't have this. No way swivel. Why? Why? I'll tell you why. Because it compromised the figure for the alt mode, which that was just a complete turn off for me. So I just went. I looked inside myself and went like, no, I have the better figure. All in all, sure, the alt mode isn't great, but I prefer the robot to begin with, so I don't care. But one of you may argue, wait, weren't you going to get the new Earthrise Optimus without all of this negativity? And my answer to that is, yes. But the only reason I say that is because, one, I didn't like the Siege figure because there was a giant back flap, so that didn't really appeal to me. Two, I could never find it. I could never find it at any of the malls that I went to. I mean, once, but that wasn't exactly the version I was looking for, and that version was a cell-shaded version, but when I saw that, the Earthrise version was already announced, and I saw it, and I fell in love with it immediately, because it was awesome. And, yeah, I'm okay with that. But, with my feelings for Starscream and the Earthrise Starscream kind of blended over to all the people who got the Siege version of Prime and the Earthrise version. They felt betrayed, because you have the Siege version. It's already really good. There were just some things that, weren't really that nice, like the battle damage and the giant backflap. But around a year later, what do? They make the version everybody wanted to begin with. The classic cab-over truck with none of the battle damage, no back flap. I mean, there's a tire backpack thing now, but that's better than the back flap from before, and it has a trailer. Something the Siege figure can't say. Which, people were very much happy for the Earthrise version, but at the same time, they felt betrayed. It was an outrage, like, really? Why? Why did you bother even giving us Siege if you're just gonna give us the better version in Earthrise? Why? I'll tell you why. Money. That's why. Which, I get it. That's kind of the point. And beforehand, people knew that this whole Toyland was going to be a trilogy. It was Siege, then now Earthrise, and Kingdom? I don't know, not yet. I'm not sure. But, point being, I myself didn't know that was a thing. Other people did, which made it worse. But when I did find out that there was going to be a second chapter, and it was going to be all Earth alt modes, I was betrayed. I'm like, I was happy, but I was also very much sad, because now I want to buy the new figures. I know that's that's such a consumerist problem, but like, come on. You make a version that's already really good. People have learned to love the Siege version, and then you come a year later, you come to us a year later with your Earthrise version. The version that everybody wanted from the previous version. Question is now, why didn't you just give us this? And I already said, money. Still, ouch. And then, as I stated earlier, Fan First Friday happened July 17, 2020, blah blah blah. It happened for us at night, for them in the morning, blah blah blah. And there were a lot of good announcements. I can't deny that. There was like, okay, there were subpar announcements like the new Netflix versions of the Siege toy line. Like there's Red Alert, there's Impactor, there's Wheeljack, which is from Earthrise, but Deco to be like Siege battle damage, which I don't mind. The Earthrise version is better, but weird enough. But there were also some new molds, like for example, Elita 1. Even though that's not technically new, that's a redeco and new sculpt, slightly new sculpt of the RC that we got from Earthrise, which is good. Which that's new, and the Bumblebee, and that Bumblebee looks really good. However, you know what else looked really good? Earthrise Soundwave and Earthrise Ironhide. Are you fucking kidding me? Again, really? Seeing that in my feed on YouTube, like the first few things, I'm like, yay, but not yay, because in the previous year, I bought Soundwave, and I bought Ironhide, and I love these figures, but I also don't like them at the same time. Well, alright, first of all, this thing, it's good. It's really good. It has nice articulation, blah blah blah. But the problem is, the deco did not age well, the battle damage was, and second, it didn't come with cassettes. It came with just Soundwave, which, in my opinion during that time that was really dumb. Just pack it in. I don't care if it's increased price point. If it's there, at least I won't be left empty like this. But now, 1 year later, we get a Voyager 3-pack with Soundwave, Laserbeak, and Ravage. And another point of contention for this, another reason I don't like this thing, the transformation. The ship. It's bullshit. What even is it? It's just a bunch of squares, around squares that form a ship shape, but it's not a ship. It doesn't even make sense in terms of scale. And we'll get to that, by the way, the scale thing. And now, the ultimate of the new Earthrise Soundwave is a cassette player, like G1. Really? No! A year later, you've been teasing us with Siege to have the figures look very much G1. I mean, Soundwave, Ironhide, Hound, Sideswipe, Starscream, Shockwave! My god, they all look very G1, except for the fact that they look battle damage and they had Cybertronium modes. Ish. Some of them have very much Cybertronium modes. And now they come to us with Earth modes. I know. They gave us Siege first to bait us into getting Earthrise, because, come on, because why would we have bought Siege if we didn't know there was anything else good coming. And we didn't know anything else good was coming. And then this happened. Then everything good did come. So, yay. And with Ironhide, I love this figure, because apparently there aren't a lot of good Ironhide figures in the past few years. One could argue the Masterpiece version, but that's expensive as all hell, and don't even bother asking me about the price and how to transform it, because I never will have it, and I will never transform it ever. But my point is, with this, I was fine with it. I actually like both modes. I do have some issues still, like the tires initially not being painted, but I did come in a year later and use black marker to make it look like tires, like, you know, like Sideswipe and etc. So yeah, I love this thing, but yeah, my main issue was, one, the tires not being painted, two, some of the joints were weak out of the package. Just really, that's more of a QC issue, so maybe that would be better in the next one, but still. And three, another thing I didn't like was the whole battle damage thing. I rubbed it off a year later because I realized I do not want this. It's just lazy, all honesty. So yeah. And now the Earthrise version. I like it. That's my problem here. I like all the announcements. I like what they're doing, but at the same time, it's another figure. I have to pay for another figure of a character that I already have. I've bought a year before, and weirdly enough, it's in the look that I prefer, the G1 stylings, the Nissan Vanette. Apparently, I don't do cars, but yeah, but just it looks so good, but at the same time, you made me buy this a year before. But the thing is about this release, the new one, it's in a 2-pack. Ironhide and Prowl. And luckily for me, last year I decided not to buy that Prowl because from the reviews I've seen and seeing it in hand, it didn't look that good, so I just opted for Ironhide instead because it looked better and people liked it better. And I don't regret that, until now at least. So yeah, the new Ironhide, the Earthrise Ironhide, is now in a 2-pack with the new Prowl, which uses the